You're watching All 24 News World News Program. To the headlines. Trump claims the naval blockade is over. Iran denies it. Now Washington threatens more action against Iran, while the latter accuses Trump of killing diplomacy and doubles down on controlling the strait. Algeria and Congo team up to boost African energy. Kinshasa looks forward to joint oil and gas projects. And Algeria's top general Shangriha says modernizing defense is crucial right now amid global turmoil. Also in our news, DR Congo sees a record number of Ebola cases. The WHO chief is at the epicenter, hoping to wipe out the outbreak. And a regional bloc is calling for stronger cooperation to contain the virus. And later on, Russian shelling in Belgorod kills 3 people. Moscow reports. Kiev says it targeted major Russian energy infrastructure. Meanwhile, Zelensky warns of a big Russian attack and urges more sanctions against it. Welcome back. U.S. President Donald Trump announced the lifting of the naval blockade on Iran, calling for the immediate reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. In a post on his Truth Social account on Friday, Trump demanded the waterway reopen without transit fees in either direction and called on Iran to remove all naval mines from the strait. Trump also said he would hold a meeting to make a final decision on war with Iran.
The Hormuz Strait must be immediately opened, no tolls for unrestricted shipping traffic in both directions. All water mines, if any, will be terminated.
U.S. War Secretary Pete Hegseth threatened Saturday to resume attacks on Iran if nuclear talks fail. Speaking at the Shangri-La dialogue in Singapore, Hegseth said the U.S. has enough weapons and is fully ready for war. He reiterated President Trump's demand for a grand bargain to keep Iran from getting a nuclear weapon.
I mean, right now we're focused on being postured and prepared to re-engage if we have to. I mean, this is a high-stakes negotiation. We've got the best negotiator in the world leading it. Iran may not want to give up their nuclear ambitions, but we believe at the table they can and will over time, given the right set of incentives. But the most powerful incentive is the capabilities we have there right now, which they can't ultimately defend against at any real level. And those are decisions in the future the president will make based on how this ends. But I feel confident that he'll get to a deal that serves the interests of the American people.
Iran's Tasnim news agency citing Revolutionary Guard sources confirmed the U.S. naval blockade remains in place. The same sources added on Saturday that U.S. Central Command in the Middle East warned Iranian vessels to halt and prevent them from passing through under threat of direct fire. Mohsen Rezai, an advisor to Iran's supreme leader, accused President Donald Trump of betraying diplomacy for the 3rd time. In a post Saturday, Rezai said Trump's continued naval blockade and excessive demands prove he's not a real negotiator and that he's after something else.
As expected, U.S. President Donald Trump is betraying diplomacy for the 3rd time by maintaining the naval blockade and overstepping in the negotiations. He has shown more than ever that he is not seeking genuine negotiations and is pursuing other goals.
The Iranian Gulf Waterway Authority said the United States will not impose control over the Strait of Hormuz. In a message reported Saturday by Iranian media, it said Washington had failed to control the strategic waterway through diplomacy, war, or what it called maritime piracy, and would not do so through sanctions. It added that it continues to issue passage permits for what it described as non-hostile vessels to facilitate navigation.
We'll see that it'll be anything that's taken off is taken off slowly. There'll be milestones that the Iranian regime would have to meet, and I can tell you, we put more sanctions on yesterday. We sanctioned their 2 airlines. We've got some other financial targets. There's a lot more that we can do if we have to. And there's some things that we can take off to help the Iranian people.
Thousands of people gathered in central Tehran, the Iranian capital, on Friday to support the government and reject recent U.S. statements, according to Iranian state media. More on this report by Marwa Bhelul now.
Iranian flags were waved high alongside pictures of the late Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and his successor Mujtaba Khamenei. This was the scene in Tehran's Inqilab Square on Friday night as people gathered to show support for their Supreme Leader while voicing distrust of statements coming from Washington.
If what he's saying is true, it shows that his blockade has failed and what he had in mind did not happen. He could not overcome us. And in order not to be humiliated any further, he says we are ending the blockade. Now we have to see how truthful he is.
The whole world is saying that he is a crazy, stupid person. He doesn't stand by his word. He is a complete liar.
US President Donald Trump has said any extension of the ceasefire would require Iran to end its chokehold on the Strait of Hormuz and giving its enriched uranium, conditions Tehran has not accepted. In Inqilab Square in Iran's capital, demonstrators echoed their government stance, saying Iran is a sovereign nation and should not be pressured into making concessions, whether on its enriched uranium stockpiles or the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz.
I even believe we made the mistake in 2015 when we handed over several tons of uranium. It was a very big mistake. Enriched uranium has high material value, both spiritual and material. It is like part of our soil. Why should we hand it over? The Strait of Hormuz must remain closed until our leader announces otherwise. We will say the same.
After weeks of mounting threats filled with contradictory statements that left the world holding its breath, Iranians are more than ever determined to resist US pressure. Many who gathered here believe that Trump failed to achieve the goals he set out at the outset of the war and is now seeking to reshape the narrative.
Still with the Middle East developments, at least 17 people, including a paramedic, were killed and dozens of civilians wounded in Zionist shelling of towns and villages in southern Lebanon from midnight Friday to Saturday. Lebanon's national news agency reported that 14 people, including a paramedic, were killed and 8 others wounded in airstrikes on towns in the Tyre and Sidon districts. It added that 3 more people were killed and 11 others wounded, some critically, in heavy shelling on Ansar and nearby villages in Nabatea district. 2 Palestinians were killed and others wounded Saturday in Zionist occupation airstrikes on Gaza. Medical sources said the head of the anesthesiology at the Jaffa hospital died in a strike on Deir al-Balah. Another airstrike on displaced people in Gaza City killed 1 and injured several. Zionist occupation forces continue to violate the ceasefire with airstrikes, artillery shelling, and heavy gunfire targeting displaced people across Gaza Strip. Palestinians in Gaza marked another Eid amid ongoing genocide. In a bid to maintain a sense of normal life, some residents of the Nusayrat camp visited the local zoo, bringing moments of relief and smile, especially for children, many of them orphans. Zara Jenny has more.
As Palestinians mark Eid al-Adha, a visit to the zoo is offering children a brief therapeutic escape from the hardships of daily life, even as the psychological toll of the humanitarian crisis remains deep. Years of war and destruction have left lasting effects on the mental health of Gaza's youngest residents. At Nusayrat Zoo, interaction with animals is helping children cope with trauma and regain a sense of normalcy.
It's great for both children and adults. During the years of war, we all went through a tragic period. We lived under constant bombardment and destruction. Every time there was an explosion or artillery shelling, we would ask which house was hit, who was killed. Scenes of devastation were everywhere. The children saw the same things we saw, whether on the ground, on television, or on the internet. That's why we brought them here today, to spend some time outside, get a change of scenery, and see a different side of life.
In the midst of extremely difficult living conditions, spending time in a natural environment offers Gaza's families a welcome break, while allowing children to rediscover moments of joy and carefree play.
The children are very happy enjoying themselves. They're moving from one area to another, looking at the animals and learning about them. They want to take pictures with the parrot and the lion. They watched the lion being fed, and they saw the monkeys and the birds. Some children born in recent years know very little about these animals. My granddaughter, for example, didn't know what a monkey or lion was.
The zoo's manager, Mahmoud Juma, said the facility was open to provide local children with a place for recreation while helping sustain the livelihoods of those who run it. He added that the owners personally covered all animal care expenses during a challenging 3-year period.
I used to have 15 lions, now I have only 3. I had 100 monkeys, now only 20 remain. I also had 17 parrots, and now there are only 6. All of this is because of the bombardment and the forced displacement.
Despite the unprecedented scale of destruction, Gaza's residents continue to show remarkable resilience, working to rebuild both their lives and their communities, while coping with the psychological impact of the war.
The European Union said the Israeli occupation has displaced more than 50 Palestinian families from Al-Quds in the occupied West Bank over the past 18 months. In a statement Friday, the EU office in occupied Palestine said around 200 homes in Al-Quds are at risk of eviction or demolition, warning of a sharp escalation in Silwan in particular.
More than 50 families have been displaced from their homes in Jerusalem over the past 18 months. Around 200 homes in the town of Silwan face the imminent risk of eviction or demolition. The situation of Palestinians in occupied East Jerusalem remains dire, particularly in Silwan, which has witnessed a dangerous escalation in forced evictions and home demolitions.
Algeria and the Democratic Republic of Congo signed a cooperation agreement Saturday to build a permanent framework for collaboration across the hydrocarbons value chain. The Algerian Ministry of Hydrocarbons said the deal follows talks during a visit by Congo's Minister of State for Hydrocarbons to Algeria. Both sides said the agreement aims to expand energy cooperation, support African energy security, and strengthen coordination within the African OPEC and the African Union, including in areas such as digitalization, innovation, and AI.
وقد شكلت مباحثاتنا فرصة لبحث.
Our discussions provided an opportunity to explore ways to enhance bilateral cooperation in the hydrocarbon sector, particularly in the fields of exploration, prospection, production, refining, petrochemicals and gas, in addition to training, knowledge transfer, and human resources development. In this context, these discussions culminated in the signing of a cooperation agreement in the field of hydrocarbons between Algeria and the Democratic Republic of Congo. This agreement aims to establish an institutional framework to develop the partnership between the two countries.
For her part, the Democratic Republic of Congo's Hydrocarbons Minister Akasia Bando Bolambol said her visit aimed to strengthen historical ties with Algeria across key sectors and advance her country's development goals. Let's take a listen.
As you know, today's visit comes in response to an invitation and as a continuation of the discussion that began on the sidelines of last year's African Oil-Producing Countries Summit, which brought together ministers of state and ministers of hydrocarbons. Today, we are working to solidify this relationship within a framework of cooperation encompassing several areas, both upstream and downstream in the oil industry. In short, I can say that the true objective is to strengthen the historical bonds of friendship between our two countries, which embodies the shared will of the two countries' presidents.
Minister Delegate to the Minister of National Defense and Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, General Said Chengri, has said adapting this defense system is essential amid the current international situation. Speaking at the Ministry of Defense during Eid al-Adha greetings, General Chengri has said this adaptation is key to building a strong army capable of meeting evolving global challenges.
إن
The battle to adapt our defense capabilities given the repercussions of the current international situation and the challenges and threats it generates is a decisive battle in every sense of the word, as its outcomes will define the features of a strong army capable of meeting the challenges of this changing situation and winning its bets.
Still in Africa, the Democratic Republic of Congo's Health Minister Samuel Roger Kamba said suspected Ebola cases have risen to 1,028, with 124 new cases recorded in 24 hours alone. He said health teams and laboratories are under heavy pressure as infection hotspots expand in the country's east and northeast. The WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus arrived Saturday in Bunia in eastern DRC, the epicenter of Ebola outbreak. He landed at Bunia International Airport, which has been closed to international flights due to the outbreak, and reiterated WHO support to help eradicate the virus in coordination with the government and local communities.
Looking forward to stop this Ebola with the community and under the leadership of the government. Speed up the support and not only focus on emergencies though, they have to be prepared to use this as opportunity to build the health system. And at the same time, not just Ebola, the people need other health services.
The Intergovernmental Authority on Development, also known as IGAD, health ministers said joint investigation and health data sharing are key to fighting Ebola. A statement from the group called on member states to use their own resources and the Pandemic Response Fund to strengthen the response, secure border crossings, and protect civilians. Russian authorities said 3 people were killed and 3 others injured in an overnight Ukrainian attack on the Belgorod region. The Russian Defense Ministry said its air defenses destroyed 352 Ukrainian drones and intercepted 10 guided aerial bombs and a HIMARS missile. It added that 2 people were also injured in Russia's Rostov region. Ukraine's military said it bombed a Russian oil refinery in Taganrog and struck a tanker and oil terminal in Crimea. Drone commander Robert Pravdy said on Telegram that precision strikes targeted Russian energy facilities, including a refinery, terminal, and tanker, described as part of Russia's Shadow Fleet. He added that Ukrainian drones also hit 23 military targets inside Russia. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said he received intelligence reports indicating that Russia is preparing a new large-scale attack. In his evening address, he said Ukraine was ready to respond around the clock, while urging stronger sanctions on Russia and faster delivery of air defense commitments from partners. And now it is time to catch up on more international news stories in the News in Brief with Karim Mustafai.
America first.
We begin in Singapore. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has issued a stark warning to Washington's NATO and European allies at the Shangri-La dialogue. Hegseth warned of a clear change in Washington's approach, stating that previous appeals for Europeans to increase defense spending have fallen on deaf ears, while praising Indo-Pacific partners like Japan and South Korea. Turning to maritime security, the U.S. Southern Command said that 3 people were killed after the U.S. military targeted a vessel in the Eastern Pacific Ocean. U.S. officials said the ship was traversing known drug smuggling routes and was operated by organizations designated as terrorist groups, according to a statement. In Africa, the Sudanese armed forces have announced a major advance in the Blue Nile region. Military commanders confirmed that the government troops are on the verge of recapturing the strategic border city of Kurmuk, reporting decisive victories against the Rapid Support Forces militia across multiple battlefronts. The Algerian national football team is ramping up intensive preparations in the capital Algiers ahead of the upcoming World Cup under the guidance of head coach Vladimir Petkovic. Reports from the camp highlight a high concentrated atmosphere and absolute focus among the players.
And that's all for tonight. To catch up on any part you missed or get the latest updates, you can always visit our social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram. On behalf of all 24 News team, I'm Islam Sid, signing off. Thank you for watching. Do take care.